First of all, it's Team Taj versus Team Bear. Where do you land on the list?
Well, I think they're going to draft coaching staff. So whoever drafts me on their staff, that's who I'm going to be rolling with. So, but yeah, now fun deal for those guys, and it'll be interesting to see how it kind of plays out.
Coach, how have you felt about your quarterbacks developing so far? It feels like with Cam coming in and Jake and obviously Will getting to campus, I guess just how do you think they've looked so far?
Yeah, I'm happy with their progress. I mean, when you look at those guys, it's kind of funny. You got Jake Strong coming back from last year has played 6 quarters of college football. Cam Brown's played a handful of games, at the Division II level, and then you got Will Hammond, who could still be in high school economics right now. So, young guys that are all still trying to learn the game of football. But as far as their progress, you always want to stay on that steady incline. And I think those guys are doing that. So happy with where they're at right now, but a lot of work to do, which is what spring's for, and summer and fall camp and all that.
A lot of turnover for you, I guess. How do you feel that the wide receiver room has gelled together so far, and obviously the tight end room has been a big talking point this spring?
Yeah, a lot of new faces. Continuity, that's what we're working on that. I think the biggest thing when you talk about quarterbacks getting a lot in the rotation and a lot of new faces, that's one thing, is really trying to get that continuity, that chemistry back down. I like where we're at. I like our skill players. Again, some learning curve we're going through a little bit here and there, trying to get these guys up to speed on the system and on the same page with the quarterbacks. But I like where we're at. Again, that's what spring's for, and summer and fall camp as well.
I guess, how do you feel up front? It feels like Sheridan Wilson's coming along, and Ty Buchanan sounded like he's looked good at right tackle as well. I guess, just how do you feel about those guys with the line of faces as well?
Yeah, same thing, man. Trying to get some chemistry and continuity going there with the new offensive line coach as well. So kind of putting his spin on some things, trying some different techniques and some of those things. But those names you mentioned, man, Sheridan Wilson's been one of my guys I've been the most proud of. You're talking a guy that being his redshirt sophomore year, which is, sometimes that's really the time that these guys should be flashing and making their way into that starting lineup, and he's done a really good job. I'm very proud of him. He's really kind of taking ownership of running that offensive line and being the center, and Ty Buchanan too, man. I was just talking to Coach Blanchard here a little bit ago, and I think his last 3 practices, even, you've seen Ty Buchanan get better and better and better. Sometimes when you watch those O-linemen, when they don't flash on tape, that means they were blocking their guys and not messing up so much, and he's really shown out in that fashion, and he's done a really good job. And those other guys too, man. Caleb's done a good job at guard, and then we're just trying to bring the new faces along and continue to develop these young guys that we really like a lot.
Zach, kind of following up on that, across the offense as a whole, who would you say is kind of taking the biggest steps forward this spring, most improved players?
Yeah, Sheridan Wilson would have to be one of those guys on the top of my list. He's done a really good job when you're talking about guys that have been here, that have been around as far as that offensive line room goes. Tight ends, John Carlos Miller's new here, but he's had a really good spring. And again, you're talking about a guy that played offensive lineman in high school and true wide receiver at Elon, and so he's learning a new position as well, but doing some really good things. And Kelby Valson, the young guy, he's done a really good job. Showed up real big in our scrimmage on Saturday, caught a couple touchdown passes, and but yeah, all those guys are doing a good job, man. We're just we're young and new at some areas, and just trying to again get the chemistry going and getting those guys comfortable in the system.
Coach, I know last year schematically you had to adjust with getting the ball to Taj and running the ball a little more. I guess overall, from 4 months away, what's your hope to look like schematically next fall?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to adapt as the season goes along, with injuries and some of those things. But I think you're going to see what we'd like to be more of is some of those last games we played there. TCU, UCF, Cal, probably somewhere in that mold of where we want to be. I mean, I think the goal is going to be, still try to get Taj the ball 20, 25 times, somewhere in that range. And then again, try to find our matchups in the season of, this week it may be more, hey, these guys don't play the tight end well, or hey, these guys leave the slots on island against safeties that don't cover as well. And so, but going to continue to, mix up formations and personnel groupings. And again, we're trying to find, with our new tight ends and, with Taj, Taj is 100% healthy, but we've limited him a little bit in spring. Got to make sure we've got him ready to go August 31st. So trying to find out what these other young backs can do too, and find their strengths. And when they go into the game, what are their runs that they like, and what are we good at blocking up, some of those things.
Hey, Coach, how concerned are you about Barron's health going into next season? I know you have some time, but are you concerned about him being 100% going into fall camp?
You know, I mean, I think there's always a slight concern whenever you don't know everything about him. You know, he got to practice those first few practices here, and he looked really good. You know, just dealing with some soreness, and you know, where we were at that point in spring, man, it wasn't worth it. Let's shut him down and let's get him going. And but man, right now he feels good, but it's one of those things that we want to make sure again when August 31st rolls around that he's going to be 100% or as close as he can be to 100% and ready to go. So I feel good about him. Again, when I talk to him, he feels good, and mentally he's in a really good spot mentally. And again, he was having a really good spring up until that point, and we just decided to kind of shut him down from there.
Coach, kind of back on that backup running back conversation, I guess. How's Cam Dickey looked and Cameron Valdez looked, and anybody else, getting into that conversation?
Yeah, those two are the main two that have really flashed. I mean, y'all seen Cam Valdez, and he's continuing to get better. But man, the young guy Cam Dickey, man, I think he's one that you're going to be seeing in the future here, really making some strides. He's done a really good job. Came in, learned the offense, really good in pass protection. And again, you're talking about a guy that really played high school quarterback. So there's always that transition, that learning curve of how will that go. But playing quarterback may have even helped him as far as some of the pass pro and some of those things. So he's done a really good job, man. He's slippery. He's done a good job of making guys miss and some of those things. So I'm really, really excited about him. And again, Cam Valdez also has looked really good.
Coach, can you talk about your tight ends room? We've heard a lot about John Carlos Miller and, of course, Tharps back. What's your assessment of them this spring?
Yeah, they've done a really good job. Clearly, we'd love to have Jalen out there too, but that room's looked really good. Mason's probably in the best shape of his life. Best, as far as like the mental side of the game goes too, he's feeling really good. John Carlos is really flashed, like I've said, making some freaky plays out there, some one-handed catches and some stuff like that. And then even beyond there, Jason Llewellyn's done a really good job coming in, and a guy that I'm really excited for the future is Trey Jackson. I mean, you talk about a guy that, again, he's in the developmental stage with just how much he weighs right now, but a guy that's not afraid to put his face in there and make some contact. So he's really coming along. So excited about that room, and Coach Cochran's doing a great job with those guys, and looking forward to see how that we can progress those guys in the system this year.
Coach, on the offensive line, who are some of the backups that have made the biggest jump in spring ball, even since the bowl game?
Yeah, I think two guys. Dylan Shaw's really come along. He was on scout team for us last year. He's doing a really good job there at guard. Again, he'll be a redshirt freshman next year, so still climbing and where we need him to be. Dalton Merriman's come in and done a really good job at that offensive tackle position. Same thing, he had come back from a shoulder, and he's 100% good to go, but he was just doing some indie and some of those things early on. But he's doing a really good job there. Danny Sill at right tackle, he's been doing a really good job. And again, these young linemen that we signed a couple classes ago, we feel really good about. Jacob Ponton, y'all are going to be hearing that kid's name for years to come. He's going to be an absolute freak, but again, a kid that could be in high school economics right now, so got a lot of development to do there. But those are some of the names that have done a really good job.
What have been some of the strengths of the backup quarterbacks now that you've got an extended look set each of them?
Yeah, again, I think it's kind of this way. I feel like all the time, everybody brings different strengths to the table. I think I heard maybe Coach McGuire talking about Cam Brown. Man, Cam Brown's a really dynamic athlete. When he escapes the pocket, he can make things happen. And so that's something that he brings to the table that not that the other guys don't, but he brings it a little bit more than the others. What Jake has is experience in the system and the football IQ that we're looking for here. And then Will Hammond, man, he's another one I'm really, really excited about, because he's got a huge arm, and he can really roll too. He's up there at our top speeds this spring. Whenever he pulled a run early there in spring ball and took off for about a 70-yard touchdown himself. So I'm just excited about all those guys. They're all different personality-wise. They all bring something different to the table, but they're all eager and hungry to learn. And those guys live in my office, so it's been a fun spring for me, just getting to know those guys better and seeing how they tick and being able to try to use their strengths to the best of our ability.
And is Cam Brown someone that has maybe like short line packages, given like his size and skill set that he's had coming up over from D2 up to where he is now?
Yeah, you can do some fun stuff with him. Yeah, again, he's really athletic, so he can catch it, he can run it, he can throw it. I think he's sitting right at just a hair over 70% completion percentage, which is good. You know, he's not just a runner. When I say he's an athlete, he can really sling it too. But yeah, you can do some fun stuff with him, so we'll see what that looks like this fall.
Coach, the last time we talked to you was ahead of the bowl game when the in-helmet communication was, getting tested out for that game, I guess. With that being passed for this coming season, does that help you or hurt you anyway, or what's your thoughts on that overall?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, they're gonna cut that thing off at 15 seconds. So I think one area where it can help us offensively is typically I try to get the play call in pretty early. And so, especially if you can get that play call in early and maybe try to see the defense, you can give them some pointers. But that thing will cut off at 15 seconds. So it'll be interesting. This spring it hasn't cut off at 15 seconds. We've been able to talk through them a little bit more, and kind of in the same boat I was. I'm trying to play that fine line of letting them see and learn versus me telling them a lot of stuff. But it's been a lot of fun. I think those guys are enjoying it, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I loved it in the bowl game. I thought it helped us tremendously. I still feel like we left 3 touchdowns on the board in that game that we should have had, that we just didn't execute like we should have. But I think it's good for the game, you know what I mean? And I love it. The quarterbacks like it, so I think it'll help, take some of the signaling away and some of that stuff that people steal signals and some of that. I think it just speeds up the game for us at the quarterback position a little bit as well.
In the bowl game, I noticed that you guys were still using sign signaling down there. Was it a mix, or was it trying to get it in verbally?
Well, you're going to do both. I mean, still you have to have your personnel packages to know who's on the field. You're going to have your formation boards and your formation guys and some of that stuff to make sure we're lined up. So you're going to have both. That's going to be more for personnel and formations, some of that stuff. And so the play call itself will go straight through the headset to the QB.
Do you think there's one or two more? Do you think there's kind of a benefit to a guy like Micah Hudson? You'd like to have him on the field, but he's get to learn everything before you kind of throw him out to the fire like that?
Yeah, I think when you look at like him and Jalen, for example, both unfortunately missing spring, there is some good to it. Because now you're not having to split reps at certain positions as much as you would have with those guys being out there. And they're also getting to kind of see the game from a different vantage point and getting to really learn. You're talking about 2 new guys coming in to learn a new system, and so they're getting to do more of the mental part of it versus the physical part. But I have no doubt in my mind Mike is going to come in and be fine and ready to go. He just it's part of it, but I think he'll be ready to go whenever June rolls around, whatever that is.
Coach McGuire talked about it some earlier in the spring, but where do you see Micah playing when he does come back?
Man, it's going to be interesting to see. He played outside receiver all in high school. They moved him around a little bit. I think he's definitely that guy that can play inside and outside here. The big thing is getting him out here and creating competition at these other positions. We've been all morning actually been kind of looking at that receiver board and trying to figure out exactly where we're at and where guys fit. And he's a guy that definitely fits. We just got to get him out there and move him around a little bit to see where he fits best, where he's most comfortable. Try to take a little bit of the learning off of him as well, where he's not having to learn both at the same time without going through spring and some of those things. And, that'll be good, being able to be with him in June and July, too, to have those meeting times and get him more comfortable in the system. But, man, it's going to be interesting to see, because I really like, in the slot, what we've seen out of those guys this spring. I thought they've done a really good job. But then outside, you've got a lot of competition being created out there with Coy and Brady and CD and Jordan Brown. And so we have a good problem, that's for sure. We just got to figure out, where these guys fit best and where they're comfortable the most.